The train whistle shrieked, slicing through the biting Wyoming wind as Clara stepped onto the platform, her worn suitcase clutched tight. She was 28, with eyes that held both hope and weariness, and a heart that had dared to dream of a new life. She'd answered an ad in a Chicago paper: widower, 35, seeks kind woman for marriage. 7 children need a mother. Honest life on Wyoming ranch. The letters from James, her intended, were brief but warm, promising a home and purpose. But as Clara scanned the desolate platform, no man waited to claim her. Only a boy, no older than 12, stood shivering, his face smudged with dirt and eyes hollow with grief. "You miss Clara?" he asked, voice cracking. She nodded, heart sinking. "Pa's dead. Been gone 2 weeks. I'm Tom. You still comin'?" The world tilted beneath her, but Clara's gaze locked on Tom's desperate eyes. She didn't know it then, but that moment would rewrite her life and theirs. Clara followed Tom to a rickety wagon, her mind reeling. James was dead? 7 children, alone? She'd left Chicago to escape a life of drudgery, pinning her hopes on a stranger's promise. Now, that promise was ash. The ride to the ranch was silent, save for the creak of wheels and Tom's occasional sniffle. She wanted to ask questions, but the boy's hunched shoulders stopped her. The ranch came into view, a sagging house dwarfed by endless plains, smoke curling from a crooked chimney. As they approached, 6 more faces appeared at the door, ranging from a toddler clutching a rag doll to a lanky teen with a scowl. "Who's she?" the teen, Ellie, demanded. Tom muttered, "Mail order bride Pa wrote for." The children stared, a mix of suspicion and curiosity. Clara's stomach knotted. She wasn't a mother. She wasn't even a wife now. What was she doing here? Inside, the house was chaos. Dirty dishes teetered in a basin, clothes littered the floor, and the air smelled of damp and neglect. The youngest, 4-year-old Maggie, clung to Clara's skirt, whispering, "You stayin'?" Clara's throat tightened. She wanted to run back to the train, back to Chicago's familiar misery. But these children, with their hollow cheeks and wary eyes, pinned her in place. That night, she learned the truth from Ellie, who spoke in angry bursts. James had been sick for months, hiding it until he collapsed in the barn. The children had buried him themselves, too far from town to fetch help. The ranch was gone, claimed by a debt collector, Mr. Carver, who'd given them a week to clear out. "Pa thought you'd be here sooner," Ellie said, voice breaking. "Thought you'd save us." Clara lay awake, the weight of their need crushing her. She wasn't know how to save anyone, least of all herself. Morning brought clarity and a decision. Clara couldn't abandon them. She rolled up her sleeves, ignoring the ache in her bones, and started with what she knew: order. She scrubbed the kitchen, mended clothes, and coaxed the children into chores. They resisted, especially Ellie, who saw her as an interloper. "You ain't our ma," she spat, stomping off to the barn. But Maggie trailed Clara like a shadow, and Tom watched her every move, hungry for someone to lean on. The others, 10-year-old Sam, 8-year-old twins Luke and Levi, 6-year-old Annie, and Maggie, wavered between defiance and need. Clara didn't push affection, she offered consistency. Hot meals, clean beds, a firm but kind voice. Slowly, cracks formed in their walls. Sam brought her a wilted daisy. Annie asked for a bedtime story. But challenges loomed. Food was scarce, winter was coming, and Mr. Carver's deadline loomed. Clara faced her first test when Carver arrived, a wiry man with a cold smile. He wanted the land for his cattle empire and saw the children as pests. "Pack up, or I'll have the sheriff drag you out," he said, eyeing Clara. "And you go back where you came from." She squared her shoulders. "These children are my family now. We're staying." It was a bluff, she had no claim to the land, but Carver's sneer fueled her resolve. She learned from a neighbor, Mrs. Dawson, that James had a small savings hidden in the barn. Clara found it, $47, enough for supplies but not to settle the debt. She also found James's letters to her, tucked in a tin. Reading them, she felt his love for his children, his hope she'd be their anchor. Tears fell as she realized she was falling in love with his dream, even if he was gone. The next hurdle was survival. Clara rallied the children to work the land, planting a late garden and repairing the chicken coop. Tom, who'd shouldered too much, began to trust her, sharing stories of his pie. Ellie, though, remained distant, sneaking off to town and returning with red eyes. Clara followed her one day, finding her at James's grave, sobbing. "I couldn't save him," Ellie confessed. Clara held her, feeling the girl's pain echo her own losses, her parents, her dreams. "We save each other now," Clara whispered. Ellie didn't pull away. That night, Ellie called her Clara instead of you, a small but seismic shift. Winter tested them. Food dwindled, and a blizzard trapped them inside. Maggie fell ill with a fever, and Clara sat by her bedside, singing lullabies from her own childhood, fear clawing her heart. The children huddled close, their bickering replaced by quiet unity. When Maggie's fever broke, Clara wept with relief, and Luke shyly hugged her. "You're like Ma was," he said. Clara's heart swelled. She wasn't replacing their mother, but she was becoming theirs. Spring brought new hope but also Carver's return. He offered to buy the land for a pittance, knowing they couldn't pay the debt. Clara refused, her mind racing for a solution. The town's annual fair offered a chance. Clara and the children entered their meager harvest, preserves, eggs, and a quilt Clara sewed with Annie's help. They won prizes, earning $20, but it wasn't enough. Then Tom, inspired by Clara's grit, sold his father's old watch, his most prized possession, adding $30. The community, moved by their story, rallied. Mrs. Dawson organized a collection, and townsfolk donated what they could. Clara presented $150 to Carver, not enough to clear the debt but enough to negotiate. She stared him down, recounting the children's hardships and her commitment. "You'll have to drag us off this land yourself," she said. Carver, sensing the town's support shifting, relented, accepting the payment as a down payment, with terms they could manage. Years passed, and Clara became the mother the children wished for, not perfect, but steadfast. She never married, finding her purpose in raising them. Tom became a rancher, Ellie a teacher, Sam a carpenter, Luke and Levi farmers, Annie a nurse, and Maggie a writer, penning their story. Clara grew old on the ranch, surrounded by grandchildren who called her Ma. As she sat on the porch one evening, now gray-haired but with eyes still bright, she looked at the family she'd built. She'd arrived seeking a husband but found a legacy. The children, now adults, joined her, their laughter echoing across the plains. "You stayed," Tom said, squeezing her hand. Clara smiled, tears glinting. "You were worth staying for." The story spread, whispered in town, written by Maggie, and shared by those who knew them. It was a tale of loss and love, of a woman who chose to be a mother when she could have walked away. For those who hear it, it's a reminder, family isn't always born, it's made, in the quiet choice to stay, to fight, to love. And as the sun set over the Wyoming ranch, Clara's heart was full, her life a testament to the power of that choice.